Hello, everybody. Welcome to Radio Dead Air Tech Q&A. You've got questions. We've got guesses. I'm Nash. Been doing Radio Dead Air for ages. In addition to that, I'm also an IT professional. With me, as always, my producer, Mike Gearman, who also works in IT. Lumi. What?
You have a cat.
Yeah. Lumi. Angry.
And technically, right now, you have 4.5 cats.
Angry potato. Go bye-bye. She is taking your Radio Dead Air Tech Q&A. Taking your tech questions. If you have something you'd like to ask help with, send it to request at radiodeadair.com. Yes, we have. Lumi has just developed an obsession with the mouse on the screen. So now whenever I try and do anything, she's up here trying to get to fight the mouse on the screen, which has been a little bit of a headache. But
I mean, it's impressive. Most cats don't pay attention to those things.
She didn't used to, and then she got into it. Now she won't stop. So, and every time I pick her up, she's like, "No!" And she gets angry and she gets swatty, and she's like tiny little angry potato. All right, so we're gonna get to your tech questions tonight, but first we got some news to talk about. This is actually a little bit more of a story than when I first sent this to you. So we have been talking about, we talked last week about the specs and the stats that we saw for the RTX 5090. Yeah. And we noticed that when they turn off all the game-specific tricks, like the DLSS and the other things, and they do an apples-to-apples comparison between like the 4090 and the 5090, we're not seeing that much of a jump performance-wise.
No, we're not. And we're certainly not seeing the kind of jump that the AI bros want.
Yeah, because
there was a strange smell in the air today, and I think it was flop sweat from Sam Altman.
So there are two things that the AI folks need from the Blackwell AI accelerators. And I want to stress that these cards that we're talking about tonight are home user cards, but they're using the same generation of technology, architecture that's going to be in the new Blackwell AI accelerators. And the 4090 is Ada Lovelace. The RTX 5090 is Blackwell. The old AI accelerators are Ada Lovelace. The new ones are going to be Blackwell. What they need is either a vast drop in power consumption, which doesn't look like it's going to happen because the RTX 5090 is going to be a 575 watt graphics card. So that's not happening.
In fact, that's a significant increase in power consumption.
And power consumption matters a lot in servers because we talked about this before. We're talking about big rooms full of dozens, hundreds of these accelerators, each one drawing power. That increases the cost of operation. That increases the ability to keep the damn things cool. So 575, Tom. It was 575 watts. So the trade-off there is if the power went up, but they got a massive increase in performance, that could be on balance. They could work that out financially.
Yeah, because, so the power went up by about 20, what do you say, last week, 20%?
Yeah.
If the performance increase had gone up 80%, you could go, well, hey, power went up 20%, performance 80%, we can swap stuff out and use less power and get more effect. They're not even close to that performance, though.
Well, what if the power went way up and the performance didn't increase very much? What would that mean?
That would mean that, like I said, Sam Altman, flop sweat, trying to convince now more and more governments to let him steal everyone's IP to train his models for free, because if he has an extra expense of paying for data,
Yeah.
yeah, even redefining AGI to be when one of my models makes $100 billion, that's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah. So it's looking like 30%.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
It's looking like 30. We've got Blender tests. We've got tests are leaking out all over the place right now. We've got Blender test leaks. We have Geekbench leaks, which again, 20%. We've got 25% there. We are looking at a reviewer got a hold of the 5090D, which is the China exclusive model, and
which is basically the China exclusive model is not as much AI stuff.
Right. Well, no, it's just they have to pull back the power, the number of cores on it, but it has to come in under a certain wattage and whatnot. But even then, they're only looking at like 20 to 20. So we're looking at somewhere between 20 and 30% improvement. That's already not good for a game generation.
No.
That's one you're like, I'm gonna skip this one. I'm fine with what I got. Blender, on the other hand, is now this is one that DLSS doesn't matter. This is one where frame generation doesn't matter because Blender just uses the raw power of the GPU. And that's what the AI accelerators also use, the raw power. There are probably going to be some tensor cores and some other stuff on there as well. But what they're mainly using is the raw computational power of the GPU as an AI accelerator. So what this means is if these numbers scale between Lovelace and Blackwell, and remember, Blackwell in general, the entire architecture was delayed because of power and cooling issues. If this holds true, going from the 4090 to the 5090, if this scales across,
yeah.
There. Now, understand, Altman has called for.
I'm hoping Sam didn't borrow money from the mafia. Who am I kidding? I'm hoping he borrowed money from the mafia.
Altman has called for a massive increase of computational power in order to get what they what apparently I guess they want. We don't even know what the fuck they want out of this shit, but they've claimed the need for a massive computational increase in power to get what they need out of generative AI and whatnot. And well, 30%, and that's the best case scenario. 30% is not it. And I sincerely doubt that the Blackwell server CPUs or the server accelerators are going to have this much power increase. They're simply not feasible to run this many, this hot in a single system. So even then, the advantage is not going to be tremendous. So,
I find myself with extremely little sympathy for Sam Altman.
Yeah. I saw a teardown of the 5090 Founders Edition. Did you see this? Gamers Nexus had it?
Yeah, I watched parts of it. Because Gamers Nexus, while they do a lot of good stuff, in my head, they vamp more than they need to.
A lot, yeah. I tend to skip to their end for the conclusions a lot. Unless they're doing their documentary and deep dive and their investigative report stuff. But so they got one of the engineers from NVIDIA to walk them through the RTX 5090 Founders Edition. Now, the interesting news is it's a 2-slot card. That's kind of fascinating.
Yes.
Considering how big the 4090 was. 4090 was like a 4-slot, 3-slot card. Giant ass card. And we're like, wow, they got it down to being a 2-slot card. But the way they did that was kind of ridiculous. First of all, the thermal interface material is liquid metal, which is problem number one. Now, you have to understand, if you're using liquid metal on your system, on any of consumer electronics, that's not a great idea. You're only doing that because you abso-fucking-lutely have to. They did. Sony used liquid metal for the PS5, and liquid metal, if you're not familiar with this, it's a mixture of gallium and a couple other stuff. It's what it says on the tin. It's a metal that stays liquid at room temperature. It is probably one of the best thermal interface materials you can get between two disparate metal surfaces. The trouble is, it's liquid. It's not a paste like thermal paste. And also, it's conductive because it is a liquid metal. Thermal paste is generally used in most electronic applications because it is not conductive. It will allow a very efficient, a very good heat transfer, very, very good. But if you accidentally splooge it on, say, a capacitor or a trace, it's not going to matter because that's, it doesn't conduct anything. If you get even a tiny drop, a minuscule, almost microscopic drop of liquid metal spilled anywhere on the that it's not supposed to be, you have potentially killed the device. Just dead. Liquid metal takes special knowledge to handle. It takes practice. You have to learn how to apply it. You have to learn how to apply it safely. You have to learn, and we're talking on an assembly line. So they do have an automatic process for this. But they have this special rubber gasket they have to put in place to protect all the other components. The card is remarkable. Let me show you the card because this is what the hell is happening here. In order to pack it so tightly and densely and make it work, this is the RTX 5090 right here. Now, the first thing you'll notice when you look at this card is, where's the PCIe connector? Well, we'll flip it over. And if you look to the lower left of the image right there, you'll see there's a little plug-like thing there. It has a custom PCIe connector that is actually attached to the cooler. The lengths they've gone to in order to get this to work, were this a custom build for an enterprise solution? Maybe it would be, but you don't use liquid metal in the enterprise. So this is an awkward.
Okay, so I'm going to say you could, but you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Sony used liquid metal in the PS5. And the reason why is they packed so much into such a tight little space. The only way to get the most efficient they had to eke out every degree to keep the temperatures down as much as possible. So they were forced to use liquid metal. And you can't really fix a PS5. And I'm pretty sure Sony, when they send a PS5 back to be repaired, refurbished, I'm pretty sure that increases their warranty costs. Because that's not simple stuff to do. This already, the RTX 5090, it uses a custom PCB connection, PCIe connector. It's got, none of this can be translated to any of their lower down the stack. With the RTX 4090, They just used for the 4080, they just used the 4090's cooler. It was economical. It allowed them to transfer, it allowed them to reuse parts, which is what you really want to do with mass-produced consumer electronics. You want to reuse parts wherever possible. It allowed them to keep costs down. I'm willing to bet that a whole bunch of the cost of the 5090 is this wacky-ass engineering they had to do, this custom one-off setup, that they're pretty much, they've increased the production costs of this thing. So going tremendously. I don't know how much more the 5090 costs in terms of silicon, and I don't know how much of that extra $300 MSRP is because of this crazy setup they had to get just to get it to fucking work. And I'm willing to bet it was this crazy setup or an even bigger cooler.
Honestly, it might have been a case where they needed to go with the even bigger cooler.
Well, if it was the even bigger cooler, then again, they would have had a problem because it would have only been applicable for the 5090. Anything else, it wouldn't transfer down the stack. This thing is so custom. I've never seen an NVIDIA card this customized before. This deviating from the rest of the product stack. I've never even seen a Titan go this far away from the product stack. It's just, it's ridiculous. And what the hell? I don't even know what the add-in board partners 5090s are going to look like. If they're even going to be add-in board 5090s. We haven't seen, no, there've been some other 5090s from other add-in board partners. So yeah, this is great news for John McCain, is the best way of putting it. You remember that?
No.
During the campaign with Obama, every time Obama kept lapping his butt and just trouncing him and making him look, and just making every aspect of the campaign look ridiculous, the media kept insisting this is great news for John McCain. Every time.
I do vaguely remember that, yes.
Every time. It was so, by the end, it was so pathetic. And this is not good news. I mean, NVIDIA is going to sell these things. Someone's going to be stupid enough to pay $2,000 for this for only a 30% increase with a 575 watt card. Sure, someone's going to be dumb enough to buy it. Probably the 5080 might look a little bit more appealing if we get 4090 close to 4090 performance, but I don't think we will. And keep in mind the 5080 only has 16 gigs of RAM, so if you're trying to use that as a replacement for the 4090, that's not going to work really either because the 4090 still has 24 gigs of RAM. In general, I think, and again, the performance numbers, even for gamers, it's not going to be a case of, wow. It's just sort of like, fuck. So I wouldn't want to be an AI right now, is all I can say. Because if they were pegging their hopes on Blackwell, if they were pegging their hopes on Blackwell, then Ruhr 2, the 5080 is like 50% cheaper than 4090, and it has less RAM and it has less memory bandwidth. So it can't. Ruhr 2, every single time we do this damn show, you've got to be contradictory as fuck, regardless of what we're saying. Every fucking time. What the hell's wrong with you? Jesus. All right. Moving on to other stupidity. So, I don't know if you remember this, but a few months ago,
I mean, I think we've based certain things. I don't remember a lot. So
Congress decided
that
TikTok was bad. because of data privacy.
And among other things. And the Chinese government will use their algorithms to make you anti-American or something.
And what about
people are watching cat videos, dude?
And what about data privacy for American social media? Shush, 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 shush.
Yeah, I mentioned that there's a senator, I forget which senator on Blue Sky, he was talking about, this is a good thing. And I said, hey, when are you going to pass never occurred to you to pass a data privacy law for Americans, did it? And last time I looked, I had almost 2/3 the likes he did.
Yeah.
And he's a senator.
So they passed, if TikTok does not find a buyer by January 20th, then Apple and Android are required to remove it from the app stores. They can get no more updates here in America. Well, for some reason, nobody wants. Yeah.
Oh my God! Well, who's responsible for this? You.
Nobody wants.
You're responsible for this.
Nobody wants to own this fucking law. Congress, Schumer has been saying we'll try to find some way to accommodate it. The Biden administration has been like, well, we don't have to, enforce the law. We're not going to enforce the law. We'll leave that to the next administration. Trump saying, oh, we want to give them 90 more days. And so TikTok saying, yeah.
So the law is actually per lawyer on TikTok. So not TikTok on Blue Sky. So take with a grain of salt, but I trust the guy. It's one of those laws that's self-enforcing. You can't not do it. Now, they may say, oh, we're not going to collect the money. But the DOJ has already come out and said, no, we're going to collect this money. We are absolutely going to collect. This goes to our budget.
Yeah. So, they've tried. The Biden administration says, oh, no, we won't hold you liable for the last day we're in charge. Meanwhile, TikTok has said, no, we're upholding this. We're shutting it down. Essentially what happened was America, both parties, two presidents, America played chicken with ByteDance. And they said, we flinched.
Because they were like, yeah, this is, we need to block this. This is a good thing. We're going to block this. And a significant portion of American users like, well, screw you. Hey, here's this blatantly Chinese product that we're going to switch to instead.
Which is RedNote, which has had a huge uptake because what they were expecting was people to come crawling back to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and that didn't fucking happen.
Nope.
Nobody wants to use Reels. Nobody wants to use YouTube Shorts. Nobody wants to use Twitter. They went to RedNote, which ironically, if RedNote breaks 1 million U.S. users, it will then be subject to this exact same law and will have to be delisted from Android and Apple. Yeah, exact same thing is going to happen. Satine says the president can't legally decide to just not enforce the law. One, no. The Supreme Court said otherwise. And number two, federal marijuana laws. We haven't been enforcing those for about a decade now. They're still on the books. Okay.
Yeah, this one's tricky. So I really don't know what the lawyer meant by self-enforcing. I should have asked.
Yeah.
Expecting that this story would come up on the show, and I didn't. But I think what it means is anyone who in the government who says, no, we're collecting that money can collect that money. I don't think Interior can collect the money. I don't think, we're collecting this for moose. We're going to use this for the moose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also, last week, Friday, on the Supreme Court said, no, this law, we're upholding this law, even though that was a bad ruling. Because this is a blatantly violates First Amendment for a lot of different reasons. But
the wrong level of scrutiny was used. It's ridiculous.
So regardless, this is going to happen. Any chance that any chance they could get a reprieve for this. So now not one, but two different presidential administrations and both parties of Congress are going to be responsible for taking away one of the major platforms for young users of the internet today. And nobody wants to be responsible for the shit. But they are absolutely going to be responsible for the shit. So as far as it goes, it looks like Trump went so far to invite the CEO of TikTok to the inauguration. Which that's like very nice of you, Mr. President.
Is he going to go? Last I saw, he wasn't actually going to go.
Probably not. It's like very nice, Mr. President, but we're still shutting the shit down because that's the law. We can't. You made it. You did this.
Yeah. One of the things someone said, TikTok says, "Hey, you give us a promise." And the other thing I saw from lawyers was there's no promise they can give you that your general counsel will accept and say, "Yeah, no, we're good."
No. Yeah. So it looks like. Now, I don't know. I can't. Here's the crazy thing about these days in the United States. I can't say for sure if on January 20th, it's actually going to shut off. Every best indication, and TikTok themselves, and the letter of this stupid law, all of it says that on Monday, it's being removed from the app stores. There will be no more updates for TikTok in America. Does that mean TikTok is not going to be available anymore? No. If you still have the app on your phone, you can still use it. You're just not getting any more updates. It's not going to be taken off of your phone. It's not going to be deleted. You will still be able to connect to their systems unless TikTok shuts off America's connection to the systems and shuts all those down.
Which is actually really easy to do. See how Pornhub has blocked southern states unless you know how to use a VPN.
Yeah. So again, this was very stupid because this doesn't address the national security. None of the national security shit has been addressed, but they're still struggling to keep it open.
The screwed up thing is, so they say, we want to keep them from getting this data is one of the things. So they block it. Data brokers in the U.S. are not prohibited from selling data to China. It just means China has to pay for it now.
Yeah.
Instead of potentially getting it free. Because ByteDance did move their operations out of China to Singapore.
Yeah.
But you can make a good and potentially valid argument that, well, that doesn't mean much. Maybe that they still could be beholden.
That don't impress me much.
Yeah. But they did that to try to say, hey, look, we moved.
So, what's going to happen?
Nobody knows.
No one really knows for sure. It's so stupid. We should be able to tell you. We should be able to tell you this is what the law says and this is what the response is going to be. We should be able to. We can't. This is so dumb. This is so stupid. In it, you will likely be able to connect up until the 20th, up until midnight tomorrow. And I'm assuming midnight's going to be midnight East Coast time because that's where Washington is. No idea.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. So it is possible that on Monday you might just not be able to get more updates, but you will still be able to connect to TikTok as usual. And I have a feeling that might be what happens because I have a feeling nobody wants to piss off the people using TikTok. Boy, you think they would have thought of that shit back when somebody signed this stupid ass law.
From what I can tell of Washington these days, not a lot of actual thought is going on.
My main punch here is it's ridiculous that I shouldn't be able to tell, that I cannot tell you how a law is going to be enforced in 2 days' time. If this law had just been passed, I would be like, I don't know. But we're 2 days from enforcement, less than. And I can't tell you what's going to happen. That's ridiculous. Like with any other law, like fuck even prohibition, it's like drinks down, period. I could have told you. This I can't freaking tell you. It's so ridiculous. This is a case of dog caught the car. And now they don't know what the fuck to do. Speaking of we don't know what the hell to do, lots and lots and lots of workplaces this week were gifted. It's not really a gift. They have to pay for it. They were given. No, they wasn't a choice. They had AI shoved right up their butts.
Inflicted is a good term.
Inflicted's a good word. Yeah. Both Google and Microsoft decided to flip the AI switch this week. They added Copilot and on Microsoft side and Gemini on Google side to their online workplace offerings, which is Office 365 and Google Workplaces. The problem here is, and this was discussed by some folks on Blue Sky that I followed, for some users, contracts stipulate they cannot use generative AI legally.
Indeed.
They can't touch it. It can't be part of the project. And so the first thought was, how do we turn this off? Good.
And it turns out there was a lot of, we can't find that option anywhere. So we're going to get online with Google and say, how do we turn this off? And there are people on various social medias detailing that it took hours and transfers from one group to another. With the second group or the third group or the fourth group is sure to be the one who can tell you how to turn this off. And they weren't.
There was there on, at least on Google side, there is a switch that allows you to turn off the AI functions. You have to contact their support to make the switch visible. And you have to figure out who, because nobody in support was actually informed. Everybody was guessing. Everybody was transferring people around. And there was like, things I done running and stuff. And you told me, and
literally when one of the kids, some people were documenting this on Blue Sky as they were doing it. And yes, I'm referencing Blue Sky a lot because it's the one social media thing right now that's not garbage in most ways. They've got some issues, but we're saying like, you're getting a lot of these, aren't you? And they're like, and Google's like, yeah, we're getting tons. They rolled out a feature without informing their help desks and support people. This is how you do it. This just do this and you can do it. And it'll knock them out quick because that's what help desk wants. They want quick turnover of things.
Yeah. The longer you stay on the line, that's bad for their metrics. That is very bad for help desk metrics.
Yep. And so what happened then was, they said, we don't really know how to do this. And so they rolled out this thing without having the options to turn it off for the end users, which should have been there day one.
What was the one? Was it Microsoft? I think it was Microsoft. I think it was Microsoft. Let me check my I've been keeping notes on these things. That's what I do for this shit. It was yesterday, I believe. Let me scroll back. This is me doing stuff by hand like a human being. Because that's how you should do these things. Because the other stuff is garbage. But there was an optional way, I believe this on Microsoft side, an optional way to turn off well, I guess you'd call it a way of turning it off. Let's see here, almost there. Dang, I need a better system for keeping my notes on stuff because it's a mess. All right, come on. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so no, it was on Google side. The base plan price for Workspace is now more expensive. If you add Gemini, you get a discount. So a way to shut this off, you have to cancel your existing plan because everybody's plan got bumped up you have to cancel your existing plan. Then you have to sign on to a new base level Workspace plan and
which will
pay
cost you more money.
And then you will for sure have turned off Gemini AI. That is the for certain 100% certain way of turning it off. In essence, they're saying, pay us more not to use this technology that we are basing everything around.
That you didn't ask for.
Yeah. When you have to pay not to use something, that doesn't speak very highly of their faith in the product. That's an That's an moment.
Yeah.
Because if you go by this, that would mean that the value of Gemini in Google Workspaces is negative $10.
Indeed. That they'd have to pay me to use it. More than $10, Google. More than $10. Tell you what, Google, here's my open offer right now. You pay me $1 million a year, I will use Gemini.
No.
Worth a shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I would like that too, but all right, that's the news for this week, such as it is. We are certain to have a whole bunch of chaos next week. Anything's, we'll see what happens. All right, let's get to your tech questions. I'm going to double check, see if we've got any new ones in as of yet, but I don't think so. Yeah, this is what we've got this week. Okay.
Time Lord Soundwave asks, could we see a lawsuit over all this? I'm assuming you're talking about the Gemini. And yes, it's quite possible. While Google and Microsoft are both saying, hey, we don't share your data outside your organization. Microsoft also released a report, I think it was Microsoft, this week saying AI is fundamentally insecure and cannot be secured.
Yeah.
So I suspect we will see a number of lawsuits, whether it's from IP holders whose stuff was used or businesses that leak stuff. And I'm not even counting the inevitable shareholder lawsuits.
Yeah. Well, when we say the crash is coming, we're not kidding. Anyway. All right, let's get to your questions. First off, this is from Camille, who says, hello, Nash and Mike. My friends and I are interested in recording our D&D sessions, which we do over Discord. However, with the first test of using OBS, realize that video takes too much space on any of our computers, especially if you want to send it to other people. Is there a way to just record audio with OBS, or is there another program we can use that will capture everyone's voices along with the Game Master's background music on Discord? There are a couple of answers to this question, Camille. First of all, the straightforward one that you were at, the answer you want for what you want. Let's see here.
Is no, not really. You can just, okay, what I'm seeing here is you just tell it, don't pick an audio or don't pick a video input, and you're good.
Well, no, well, okay. What you do is you're going to go into OBS Studio. You're going to go into File, Settings, Output. Make sure the Advanced mode is selected. Go to the Recording tab. Choose Custom Output, FF MPEG in the dropdown. Choose MP3 as the container, and then disable video encoder, and then edit the rest of the settings. So what you do, that will save output to MP3 directly. It will not encode the video. It will just encode the MP3. So if you want to use OBS, it's a little complicated to get there, but if you go back, in fact, let me put it on screen here. Now put it up here on words that you can see.
Because the other thing Camille says, I won't be in the show because I'm playing D&D. Fair enough.
There's a very big, make words. All right, well, shit. Give me this view. Okay. All I want to do is zoom into boom, boom. I want to put this on the screen so you can screenshot it, and you have the instructions right there. And see. And boop, boop. That should do the trick right there. Is that doing the trick? Oh, no, it's a little bit over the too big. All right, there you go. That should do the trick. That should be explained how to switch it off to switch MP3. The other option, of course, is you don't have to use OBS. There are other options like Audacity. It is a free audio recording. The only tricky thing about Audacity is getting it to record the stereo output from your the right output. There is a record all sounds your computers make. It tends to be stereo output. See, what is the recording thing for it? See, this is a Windows audio output record all, or it's stereo, which is it? Stereo mixer, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, stereo mix is what you're looking for. You have to go to your recordings and look for an option called stereo mix. You have to make sure that both show disabled devices and show disconnected devices are checked. This is under your recording outputs. Then you find stereo mix, and that should record everything that your system, every noise it makes. And then you can get any audio recording software like Audacity or any of those are free. But this, if you already have OBS and it's got its own built-in capture audio stuff, this is the simple way to do it. This right? Am I pointing at the right thing? Yeah. This is the simple way to do it. Just tell it to record, set the recording to MP3 only, and that should do the trick. So, you know, this is the way to do it without having to download anything else or configure anything else. So, hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. That's the next question. Hey, Nash and Mike. Now that you've seen the B570 and the GPUs of CES, if you had to pick one to buy right now for gaming, which one would it be? That's a terrible question, Sam. That's a terrible question because we haven't really seen crap. We've seen, they've showed us the card. Ooh, look at it. Here's some charts we made at home.
We don't have actual specs and tests and independent benchmarking, which is the real key thing.
Yeah.
Because both the major companies, and let's face it, IBM as well, have been caught lying about stats in the past.
Yeah. Well, of the, now if we're, it also,
Intel.
Intel. It also depends on what your price range is going to be.
Exactly. The 570, 580 series look like they're going to be fantastic bang for the buck.
Yeah, the 570, 580, it's the the only, little asterisk on that is you have to have a fast enough CPU if you're going to be using it at 1080p.
Yeah.
Because of the CPU overhead.
Which they're supposed to be working on, but we'll see.
The 9070, I will tell you right now, if it's positioned the way they say it's going to be at that price, the 9070 XT for 500 something, that doesn't look very attractive to me. I could definitely find a used card from the radio, like a used 7800 XT or 7900 XT or something like that, that I would find more compelling if I'm going to spend that kind of money than the 9070 XT for that money. Like, again, the 9060 could look like a compelling, affordable option, depending on how much it's going to cost. My price rate, if I was not doing this for a living, if I was just doing this for gaming stuff and I wasn't relying on the graphics card to do the streaming and all that stuff, if I was just doing it for that, my maximum price that I'd be willing to pay for a graphics card, probably 500 at most. But I'd want to pay a lot less. I'd want to pay 500 would be like my, God damn it, I have no choice price. I'd want to pay a lot less than 500. Like, even this 4080 I got it used, and I got a hell of a deal this is when they were still going for like $1,200. I got this one for 800, and it's been just a champion ever since. I'm
sort of wondering why the guy got rid of it for that price.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, the heatsink was a little dinged up. Yeah, I know, right? Well, I don't think part of why they couldn't get rid of it for a bet. Part of why I got such a good price on it was because I got it just around when the 4080 Super was announced. Which is when that would be going for $1,000, and everybody's like, "Oh no." What you could find around the under 500, 3 to 500, 300 is probably the best place to get a graphics card. 500 is the shit I have no choice price. Somewhere in there is probably better. I like the B570 for what it is as an entry-level card. I feel like it needs to be $20 cheaper. If the B570 was $200, it would be amazing. It's not. It's $220, which $20.
I'm going to say $220 is still a pretty good price from what you're getting.
It's a good price. It's a good price, but considering the CPU overhead issues, and that's also that is the difference between a CPU tier, that $20-$30. That's a CPU tier difference. So that's something you have to keep in mind if you're buying something new. So what really I'm going to say what looked appealing to me, depending on how much it's going to cost, is the 9060. Because if that has enough oomph to put it over, if we're going to see a 25% increase, 20 to 35% for the 50 series, that means AMD, this is AMD's generation to lose. It's always AMD's generation to lose, but this really is AMD's generation to lose. Because if NVIDIA is only giving us that little bit of an improvement, and AMD has to be willing to bring their prices down enough to make it attractive enough to look at their 9000 series. That's what it's all on AMD. And now, if you're in the budget area, Intel's got some work to do. And I have a feeling we're going to see prices come down on Battlemage within about a month or two, because obviously we're going to have more cards coming out and more announcements slowly. I feel like Battlemage prices are going to come down. And once Battlemage hits 200, that's going to be just unbeatable as a deal right there. So, yeah, of all of them, RTX 50 series did not impress me, especially considering they could not do an apples to apples comparison. And when they did, we only saw 20, 30% improvement. That's not worth it, especially considering the price of the cards that people already paid for. Like, if you just spent last year $1,000 on a 4080 Super.
Yeah.
And this year you have a 5080 for $1,000. And it's only got a 20% improvement. No.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, unless your card dies on you as that guy gets released, I'd still be upset.
well, hell, if it's a year old, you probably still have a warranty on it, for frick's sake. Nothing really looked spectacular, at least in the higher end of gaming space. I honestly, the anything above the 5060 is stupid. You shouldn't buy those. The prices on those are stupid. $600, no, that's stupid. Even $550 for the 5070, that's pushing it. That's really, especially for only 12 gigs. That's super duper fucking pushing it. What are you, crazy? So yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, what I saw at CES, we don't have enough information yet. As we get some releases and we get some reviews, I can give you a better idea. So
yeah, I mean, this is the question, and I mean, no offense. Yeah, if you'd asked 2-3 weeks from now, we'd probably be able to get a much better
idea. Yeah. All right. This last one's from Stacy. It says, "Hello, Nash and Mike and Cats. I'm concerned now about my gaming PC after hearing you talk about wattages last week. Is it safe? Oh boy. Is it safe to run through a power strip, or should I plug it directly in the raw wall and run everything else through the strip? I've got a pretty heavy system." Now, bless your heart, Stacy. You call this a pretty heavy system. RTX 4070. All right, that's a little bit of the higher end, sure. Ryzen 7 5800. MSI Mag B550, DDR4, Corsair CX 750M.
Okay, so when we're talking about extension cords negatively, we're talking about the kind of extension cord that you walk into Walmart, you go into the extension cord aisle, and you go, oh, here's the $5 one. Yeah, you shouldn't plug your computer into that. Absolutely.
Well, even regardless, your system, Stacy, is never, I'm pretty sure that system, if that thing hit 500 watts, I would be impressed. You've got a nicely overbuilt power supply for it, 750. If that thing hits 500 or 600 watts, I would be really surprised, because that's not even a 5800X. It's a 5800. So that one doesn't have, that's a lower wattage part anyway. So you don't, the kind of wattages we're talking about that would make it dangerous for a surge protector, dangerous for a power strip, dangerous for an extension cord. We're talking about the kind of wattages that would go through, say, a space heater.
Yeah.
That's, and kids, never plug a space heater into a power strip or an extension cord. Never, ever. Always plug those directly into the wall. Never plug an air conditioner into a power strip. The reason why is it's a question of amperage. Extension cords are not necessarily depending on what you have, and if you don't know the amperage off the top of your head, extension cords do not necessarily have the same amperage tolerance as, say, your outlet on the wall. Your outlet at the wall is always going to be able to handle, if it's built to code, 15 amps.
Yep.
That means it could pull that much power, and it won't overheat, and it won't start melting stuff, because when too much amperage goes across wires that are not rated for it, the wires respond with resistance. They get warm. Electricity gets turned into heat, and that heat causes components to melt. That's what causes surge protectors to melt. That's what, yeah. A space heater, an AC, those are meant to go straight from the wall, because those are designed to handle that much current at that location. Yeah. By adding an extension cord, which would have a lower draw amperage, you could potentially pull too many amps across it. And
exactly. I'm going to say that there are certain extension cords, usually used in machine shops, and that that can handle that sort of thing. These are not things you have in your home, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy higher gauge. You can't, but you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be certain of them.
Now, as for your computer, I would plug it into a nicer surge protector and plug that into the wall just to give yourself a little bit of protection there. There's some
UPS
good brands.
If you can.
UPS if you can afford it.
Yeah. You don't need to go crazy with the surge protectors. Like, if you're spending more than like $30-$40 on a surge protector, you're going a little crazy.
Yeah, and absolutely you can. I mean, there's some high-end, like you got high-end AV equipment. You're going, I'm going to throw down for the $200 surge protector for this high-end AV equipment. Okay, maybe that's an investment you want to make.
You can.
Well, I know people who are very protective of their stereo systems.
But generally, the kind of computer that you would have to worry about is the kind we were talking about last week. And that is a system that would have multiple 4090s and 1600 watt power supply and using all of it, which is not advised. You would have to be pulling enough amps across it. And generally a system that has a 750 watt power supply isn't going to be able to pull that much amperage. That even like, so yeah, it's not gonna, you're not gonna, just unplug my space heater from my multi-wall outlet extension. Yeah, Tenacious Leech, I mean, sometimes they'll work fine, but other times it's a matter of, are they rated properly? And most consumer level extension cords and power strips and whatnot aren't rated for the big super high-end stuff. It should be like, you will have like, was it 12 gauge? Is it 14? Is like, I forget what it is. I'd have to get my chart out to see amperage and gauge, wire gauge.
The smaller the number, the bigger the wire is.
Yeah. The bigger the wire gauge, I think standard use for home extension cords is something like 18 gauge.
Sounds about right, but
sounds about right. Let me see. I'm just gonna just look at
maybe 16.
Maybe 16. Yeah. 18 might be a little low. You're right. Let's see. 18 gauge power. It's not even letting me search for that. So let me type in or extension cable. That's what I should need to type in. Extension. It won't let me. So let me try type 16 gauge extension. That comes up immediately. Yeah. So, all right. 16 is like the lowest level. Don't use that for your power, for your heaters, or don't use that.
I would use that to run a lamp.
Let's see. Do they have a 12 gauge extension cable here? No, they don't. Oh, well, they have the copper wire. Oh, there is I see there is one. There is one Vivid Flex 12 gauge heavy duty indoor outdoor extension cord. I'm not going to tell you to run a space heater off that damn thing, but I'm telling that's gauge matters. Wire gauge matters. So yeah. So in general, Stace, you don't got to worry. Just make sure you're plugged into your system is not going to draw that much power.
Yeah. And by the way, as far as brands on surge protectors and that kind of thing goes, I definitely prefer name brands here rather than random brand that you might find on Amazon and you go, that looks like they pulled the name out of Scrabble bag.
Typically, I mean, you go to Lowe's, and what's Lowe's brand?
My last few purchases have been APC or Belkin their surge protectors.
Yeah, they will work,
and they make thankfully in the last decade, the people who make surge protectors have realized that everything has its own little power brick that plugs directly into the wall, and so they've started spacing out the outlets.
Which is, even then I've got some. I have to get like this little dongle extension to be able to plug it in.
Yeah. And by the way, a nice feature I've seen on some on some surge protectors. Not everyone does this. Is a little slider over the plug. So if you're not using it, you can close it, and so dust and crap won't go in there.
Yeah. Cobalt, Ruhr too. Lowe's is Cobalt. That's the brand they have. I've got a Cobalt out on our porch that I use, for power strip out there. When can we have safe rotatable plugs? I don't know. Anyway, unless anything, but yeah, just to answer your question, Stacy, you're fine with most commercial power strips, home user power strips. It's not going to damage unless you get like a bad quality one. Don't go too cheap. Less than $10. Start looking at that a little sideways. That's probably too cheap. But you don't have to worry about plugging your computer straight into the wall. In fact, you shouldn't plug your computer straight into the wall because then you don't have any surge protection. You need some sort of surge protection on electronics you value. Otherwise, they die. Because I don't know if you remember last year, a couple months back, when we actually got a surge because our at the pole screwed up and it killed every surge protector in our house.
But your electronics lived.
Yeah, our electronics lived, but every surge protector in the house freaking died.
That's what they're there for.
Oh, and it didn't kill our uninterruptible power supplies either. Those held up real good. So
yeah. I've got a quick story in that regard.
Oh.
Many years ago, when I was working a different group at work, a surge came down the dock in San Diego. And it hit this ship on one side, which had $1 million surge protector. And it laughed at that surge. And then it hit the ship on the other side of the dock, which did not have the $1 million surge protector. And the switchboard on that ship ate the surge and blew like 12 switches.
Oof.
Yeah. Guess who was one of the only people in the office when that happened and had to put together 12 replacement switches? Or rather call around to the people who had who knew where all the stuff was.
Whoopsie doodle.
It was also a long weekend, which is why no one was in. It was about to be a long weekend, which is why no one was in. And I even volunteered. Hey, if you get this stuff to me right now, I'll drive it down. I was going to San Diego anyway.
Actually, Ruhr to that whole Sparks thing. The Sparks thing doesn't happen. What happens is smoke and melting.
Smoke. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't spark that whole start with sparking consoles and stuff. No. When stuff overloads, it generates heat, not sparks. Sparks is when you get like crossed wires.
Yeah.
That's sparks. Overload is just heat, which means
magic smoke comes out.
Stuff melts. Then, but by the time stuff melts, it's broken and it's fucked. So, yeah.
Yeah. When the magic smoke comes out, you're done.
This is how much of a geek I am. I can tell you why that shit happens on Star Trek, and it's so stupid. Star Trek, the way they design their spaceships is they don't have like wiring for power transmission. Do you know how they transmit power on a starship?
Triple intestines?
Electrically charged superheated plasma. So running behind plasma conduits, they talk about that shit all the time. Running behind all those monitors and those keyboards and those consoles is electrically charged superheated plasma. That's why when anything goes bad, shit explodes all over the damn ship. You'd think they'd come up with something better than electrically charged superheated plasma, but that's Star Trek for you. So I'm a huge geek. That's how I know this stuff. It's so dumb.
I had in a meeting this week to say, So I'm going to use an analogy here, and because I'm a huge nerd, it's going to be Star Trek. And they let me do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you have tech questions for Mike and myself, you can send those to requests at radio.air.com. We'll try to put those on for you. Otherwise, until then, have yourselves a good week. Take care, batten down the hatches, and we'll see you later. Good night, everybody.